Hello everybody, I hope you're all well. First of all, I just want to say that this video is brought to you by Squarespace, the all-in-one platform to build your brand or business with a beautiful website, whether it's to sell your products, your content, or your time. Before we get into it, just want to come in here and make some quick notes. This video, I can't even lie, it's a banger. It's too good. Editor Kath, she put her entire cathussy into this. But there are a few problems. The microphone, well, there's one problem. The microphone does cut about 13 minutes in. Don't even get me started. I am absolutely gutted about it, but Kath has done a little bit of magic to make it sound a little bit less echoey and tinny, and I promise you guys, you do get used to it. So please, when the microphone cuts out, don't stop watching. Like, you can still hear me. It's still fine. You get used to it. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It's a little bit of a different one, so make sure you give a little bit of love if you do like it. And yeah, part 2 will be up in a couple of weeks. Hello, everybody. I hope you're all well.
Hi, everybody. I hope you're all
didn't even let me finish my sentence.
Hello, everybody. I hope you're all well. And then mine, which I've always done, is hey, everyone. I pray you're all fine.
Anyways, so we are joined here with Lem, famous from the Hell's Kitchen video. I mean, I'm a feminist YouTuber, but suddenly when I feature a man in my videos, everyone's like, we love Lem, bring him back, bring him back. So as per you guys' request, I've brought him back for this video. Do you want to say anything?
Hi, guys. I'm back. I'm here.
How does it feel coming back after you lost the blind taste test last time? That was your last appearance.
I mean, I think a lot of people can agree from, just from what I've been reading, the discourse about, that particular blind taste test. You threw in a lot of things that I wasn't ready for. I think I went a lot easier on you. Some people said that I didn't want to show you up on your own channel, but I didn't.
Those are their words, not mine.
Yeah.
So I thought it would be a perfect time to bring Lem back to the channel because I just have to talk about this. Why is nobody talking about this? I have to talk about this TV show with you guys. I just realised we can't say the actual name of the show because YouTube.com won't like it. So I feel like we should say Snacks/Life.
Snacks/Life.
Yeah, it's about snacks and it's about life.
And the slash that runs between them.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I just realised we are dressed for two completely different climates. So Snacks/Life is a hit show on Netflix, like hit show. The way that I describe Snacks/Life is it's basically like Euphoria for the middle-aged. It's about this woman called Billy Mann.
Billy Mann.
Billy Mann.
That's her maiden name.
Yeah, true.
She's Billy Connolly, as much as she likes to forget it.
Seemingly, she has it all, right? She has a lovely and seemingly very rich husband. She has 2 beautiful kids. She lives in this...
Wow.
Hey!
She got 2 beautiful kids. One of them is really annoying.
And she has an incredible house. Like, I don't know whether it's Connecticut cheap to live in, because this house is huge. But she seemingly has it all, right? But her desires aren't being met. So she begins writing her journal in her MacBook and begins fantasizing over her ex-boyfriend, Brad, who's Australian.
Australian Brad.
And he talks like this.
Billy, I love you.
He goes, Billy, if you just accept my proposal, spoiler.
I never got over it, Billy.
You sound British. Basically, what we're going to be doing in this video is just like running through the events. This isn't really scripted. All I've got is the notes from the TV show.
I don't even have those. That's just how talented I am.
Right. Anyways, another important thing about this show, which I think is what makes it Euphoria for the middle-aged, is that it just involves like full frontal, hardcore snack scenes. Like, there's a lot going on all the time. And that's the whole reason why we watched it. Because we were like, this seems so stupid. Like, and I can't lie.
It's pretty hot.
It's pretty hot. It's pretty steamy.
But it seems like full on to film. Like,
yeah, they must have like a lot of intimacy coordinators on that show. Because like I could not believe how some of them could have been simulated. And that's movie magic for you. A very interesting fact about the show is that the woman that plays Billy was actually married to Steve Howie, who plays Kevin in Shameless, and she actually divorced him to be with the actor who plays Brad.
Just like what happens in the show.
It's literally what happens. That's almost like in BoJack Horseman when he's on Filbert. And it's like Diane writes a storyline that's about his life.
Yeah.
Do you reckon it was sort of like that? Like, it must have been such a mind
Yeah, it must have been crazy.
So I feel like to celebrate Lem being back on the channel and for us talking about this ridiculous show and the fact that, to be honest, this was not a hard video to do at all. All I did was watch the show and make notes on it. So it's almost like I got 2 weeks off. We should pop open some Prosecco! Ah!
Oh, but you meant me. I should.
Oh yeah, I never pop my own bottles. Scary. Ah! Woo! Ah! Cheers, 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 cheers.
Cheers.
And just before we get into it, I would like to thank Squarespace for sponsoring today's video. Squarespace is the perfect all-in-one platform to engage your audience by building a beautiful and functional website, whether you're selling products, content, or your time. A few Squarespace tools that really stand out to me as a creator are the member areas, where you can sell access to gated content, whether it's videos, online courses, newsletters. It's a really great way to diversify your income. You can also connect all of your social medias to your website. So not only can you share your website on your social media to all of your followers, but also you can display posts from your social media onto your website, whether it's your Instagram, your TikTok, your Twitter, your Bebo, I don't know. A really important part of building your brand and your business is knowing who your audience are. And with Squarespace analytic tools, you can learn where your site visits are coming from and also improve your website based on your top keywords and also your most popular products and services. So make sure you guys go to squarespace.com for a free trial. And when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/jordantheresa to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. So I feel like before we get into the events of the show, it's important to introduce the characters.
Okay, yeah.
Firstly, Billy, as we explained earlier, she is at the moment a housewife.
A repressed housewife.
Yeah, she
with a sordid past.
With a sordid. She's on maternity leave right now, but she formerly was like a psychology professor or like a tutor or
something
a lecturer,
like that.
Something like that.
She vaguely works at a university, and she's always talking about snacks whenever you see her in the school. But
yeah, literally, she always talks about snacks, desire, or love. I'm like, what sort of lecture is
what
this?
class are you teaching? Like, so.
And she is like in a bit of a rut, having sort of like apparently a typical midlife crisis, and is fantasizing about her ex-boyfriend. But before we talk about the ex-boyfriend, we have to introduce her absolutely unhinged husband and
my favorite
character, Cooper. Oh.
Cooper O'Connelly. He also has a very vague job, but it brings it in the bucks. He's closing deals and making big money. He's ripped. He's also ripped.
He's ripped. He's good looking.
He's like, yeah, classically handsome.
Like I don't know. I find something about like those kinds of men where it's like you have no idea what job they work. They're so cookie cutter, run of the mill. I find men like that quite attractive.
Right, is that why you liked me when I was unemployed? Like, what does he do all day?
Oh my god, he's so cookie cutter.
He's like an ethical business bro. Like it's like they talk about like how he's doing work for the environment or cancer and stuff like that. But he's also got like just very, not even far under the surface, very thinly veiled under the surface. He is absolutely insane.
He is like Patrick Bateman.
Yeah.
The Netflix version of Patrick Bateman. If Snacks/Life was a horror movie, it would be American Psycho, and it would be centered around Cooper.
It wouldn't be very hard to change it. Like
no, it wouldn't at all. It's actually, if it wasn't for all the snacks in it, the show would be like a horror thriller. And then we have Billy's ex-boyfriend, Brad. His big sort of like personality trait is that he's a bad boy, and he's a bad boy because he rides a motorcycle and he's Australian. The only way he gives me bad boy vibes is the fact that in so many of the flashbacks, he's an absolute
He's
arsehole.
Just a massive prick.
Yeah, like, sorry, nothing's giving bad boy about the fact that you're super successful in the music industry and you sleep around. Like, that's literally everyone that works in the music industry ever. But I guess compared to Cooper, he's sort of more of a bad boy. And also, he's got
a huge dong.
Like
we had to Google, is this a prosthetic dong? Is this a real... And people online seem to think that that's his real...
It's got to be CGI. There's no way that was real.
CGI sausage.
Yeah, well, we're going to get onto that soon.
Billy's BFF, sassy black friend who tells it like it is. That's what I call her. Her real name is actually Sasha.
Sasha Snow.
But she is, and in the first season anyway, she's just kind of like a token black character who acts super sassy all the time.
Yeah, in the first season, she literally has no storyline, like, at all. It's literally
She's
her
just there to,
actions
like,
completely center around forwarding Billy's plot. Also, she's low-key a bad friend in the first
She's
season,
so
but we'll get into that.
terrible.
It's
She's
crazy
awful.
because in the second season, I'd probably say she is my favorite character. I've got to say, she's an author. She's a very successful author. She's a New York Times bestseller. Billy and Cooper also have 2 children together, Ellery and Hudson, which is the most American ass names I've ever heard in my life. Have you seen that girl choosing her baby names? And it was like Brinley, Rayanne. Cooper also has a best friend called Devon, who, first of all, I had to Google whether this guy is American, and he is. You cannot tell me that this guy isn't from Newcastle. Like, the fact that this guy is American is the craziest thing to me. Like, that's what takes me out of the show. Like, not the absolute absurd things that Billy and Brad get up to. The fact that he's not going, we're going on the town and getting absolutely fought in Akka.
So he is married to Trina. Devon is the misogynistic white friend who tells it like it is. Whenever he comes on screen, it's like a race to say the most heinous thing that he's ever said, ever. He tops himself every time.
But it's almost to the point where it doesn't actually make any sense. I've been round my handfuls of misogynistic men, right? But he'll just be like, saying that Trina looks like a whore when she wears lingerie, and it's like that doesn't make any sense. Like, I've never heard a single misogynistic man complain about their girlfriend being too much of a whore. Yeah. Trina is also friends with Billy, and both Trina and Billy are sort of in like a Connecticut mums friendship group with another woman called Caroline, who's also married to someone irrelevant, and I don't know their name.
I didn't even meet him.
So episode 1 opens up with a flashback of Billy and her ex, Brad, right? And they're getting freaky, and they are just banging in public, like in a nightclub, not even a toilet cubicle, just like in a hallway somewhere. Like, it was gross.
They're actually so disgusting.
But the thing is that they use the euphoria bisexual lighting, so like it actually looks pretty hot.
She'll be having these like little flashbacks, and then it will cut back and she's like looking after her kid or like in the middle of a conversation at work. Like, come on.
Yeah, like, it sounds like we're shaming her, and it's like, we're not.
You're
time and
breastfeeding,
place.
come on.
And you did it at my birthday dinner. It opens up with that flashback, and then it goes to the fact that Billy like wakes up, she was having a dream, and she was like breastfeeding her child, and I was like, this is a bit weird. And also I sort of been thinking about the fact that I feel like it's a bit weird to have your child in this show. So, like, think about Hudson and the fact that he's a child actor.
Yeah.
Even though, obviously, he's not in any of the inappropriate scenes. But I still think it's a weird thing to put your child in a show like that.
But people whose kids are actors are not bothered about that kind of thing.
Yeah, true. They don't have morals. So, sorry, we left notes that the little sociopath caught a butterfly in a jar. And it wouldn't be surprised me if he tried to kill it.
Yeah.
Like...
Yuck. And he tried and kill it while Billy was trying to cheat on her husband or something. He always picks the most inappropriate times. She'd be having he walk in with like a crushed butterfly in his hands, like, oh, mommy.
And I would say overall the acting in this show is like pretty strong.
Yeah, I like it. It carries a lot of it.
But the only person that does draw it back, and I can't even be mad at him because he's a child. It's not his fault that his mum forced him to be on Live.
Least favorite character, worst actor on the show.
Hudson. But this isn't any offense to the child that plays
2-year-old
Hudson.
boy.
Yeah, because it's not his fault that his mum made him be in this extremely inappropriate Netflix show. Basically, it's sort of meant to present them as this idyllic sort of American family. Like, Cooper gets in from work and he's, you know, it's all like, oh,
honey, I'm home.
Honey, I'm home. But then also it's so funny. Billy's like wearing this really beautiful like silk lace dress, and then she's like goes to Cooper like, oh my god, I was so tired today, I didn't even get dressed. And it's like, oh, and then is that your like her nightie? I'm like, no wonder you feel so repressed. You sleep in a white silk nightdress. So they seemingly have it all, but Billy feels like she is missing something from the relationship. Basically, to cut a long story short, she's horny.
Yeah, Cooper's not really bothered.
He's too busy,
He's
with
busy.
work.
And he's like, we just had a baby. I just assumed we won't be shagging.
And the thing is that like she even admits to herself that Cooper is the perfect guy.
Oh, he is.
Like, he literally
He's my
is.
ideal guy as well.
He's great. Like, good job, smart. Not sure how funny he is, but like he's good looking, good body, rich. She admits that she did marry Cooper because she was fed up of being treated badly. And it was off the back of what happened with Brad. And by the way, we at the beginning don't know what happened with her ex. It gets like hinted in flashbacks, like what he actually did. But the thing is that Cooper is the perfect guy, but in her words, she wants him to f*** her. Like, he's too nice. Yeah. And there's this scene to sort of prove the problem that they have where Billy, she wants to get it on. And Cooper's just like, no, all right. But then, like, the football's on, so he just keeps going, like, as she's on top of him, like, literally having intercourse, like, trying to sit to watch the football. And then he's just not into it and just loses, you know, he's not hard. And then she's just like, so that sort of explains the frustration in their relationship.
Then once again, I'd say, Billy, time and place. Don't start a shagathon while the football's on. It'd be like if you came while I was in the middle of a game of Apex Legends and tried to get on with it. You wouldn't do that.
So Billy decides to ring bestie Sasha and is telling her that she doesn't feel like herself since she's been in this basically housewife role. And she also tells Sasha that she is thinking about Brad.
Dun dun dun.
And Sasha's sort of just like consoling her a little bit, but then she's out and about at this gig and she comes face to face with Brad.
Wait, who does?
Sasha.
Right.
And she's just sort of like, and that's it. So it's sort of like,
like, what's going on?
Like, what's going on? So this is when Billy starts to write her diary. This is the beginning of the end.
Her journal.
Her journal, who in a MacBook with probably no secure password.
Doesn't feel like there's a password on it.
No.
It seems to be open every time anyone opens it. Is the first thing on. She doesn't do anything else on that. She's not searching the internet or nothing. It's just every time it opens, it's
something about Brad. She starts writing a journal entry about how her and Brad first met, which is basically that Brad saved her from being harassed by a man on the street, and then it was like a homeless guy, so then Brad just gives him money and then like sends him away. I guess it's sort of meant to cement that like Brad's a nice guy and
with a bad boy vibe. He's like a rich, nice-ish guy. All right, mate. Is some cash.
Why is he Cockney?
Is that not Australian?
No.
What do Australian people sound like? Billy. Billy.
By the way, Billy does not look like a Billy. She looks like a Pippa or like a Piper.
I feel that.
She doesn't look like a Billy, in my opinion. And what we find out in this flashback is that Brad owns a record label company. That's what he does for work.
The producer.
And she goes back to his apartment. There's a lot of tension between them, and then they go upstairs to the swimming pool and just sleep together. Which I'm like, good for you.
They get it on.
But the only thing which I find unrealistic about this show is the fact that they can have good swimming pools.
Yeah, they seem to really be enjoying it, but I don't think that snacks in the swimming pool...
It's not feasible.
Same way as actual snacks in the swimming pool, not great.
There's so much water, yet it's the driest experience.
Yeah, it's
That's
crazy.
What's insane. So you'll never guess who manages to read this unlocked Billy's diary fantasizing about her ex-boyfriend, which is just sat on the kitchen counter.
The lid's not closed of the laptop.
Yeah. Cooper. This makes me quite uncomfortable, this scene. He grabs her face.
Oh, yeah.
And is like, who are you? Or something like that. And then they just start doing the old devil's tango.
In the kitchen.
And at first, Billy's like, this is weird. But then she starts getting into it.
Like,
but then afterwards, it's just so awkward.
But she says to Sasha, like, that was the best that we've had, like, ever.
Well, Billy decides to take a trip to the big city. She bumps into her friend Caroline, and Caroline invites her to go somewhere or something.
So, oh my God, come with us.
Yeah, and Billy's like, oh, my mum's actually ill. The one thing that I wrote about Billy going in the city is that she had a shot of Jägermeister with no Red Bull, which I just find disturbing.
This kind of shows you what kind of person she is.
And then she decides to go and visit Sasha's apartment, and she opens the door, and guess who's there?
It's me, Billy. I'm here.
It's Brad!
Billy, I'm here.
But we don't know anything about Brad and Sasha's relationship. It's just that Brad is shirtless, and I thought that they were going to set up as one of those things where he was like screwing in a light bulb.
Stuff on his shirt.
Yeah. Oh god, and then he had to take it off, and he was just coming round. Like, that's how I thought they were going to set it up. But let's actually get on to episode 2. So episode 2 starts out with Billy fantasizing about some romp that her and Brad had, and then a woman goes up to her at the train station in New York and goes, "Sweetie, you're wet." And her boobs are leaking milk. Good on that old lady for pointing out that her boobs were leaking.
Also, like, how is she so checked out all the time? These flashbacks are like, it's insane. She's gonna get hit by a car or something.
And she wouldn't notice.
She has no idea what's going on.
She forgot her pump, so she had to like squeeze it out. Yeah, in like a public bathroom. So like, look, you gotta do what you gotta do if you forget your pump. I'm not judging you, obviously, but this girl just goes and goes, "Ew."
Yeah.
Imagine forgetting your breast pump, right? It's breast milk. It was necessary. She had to get it out.
Obviously, this woman has just recently had a baby, and she's been caught short. She's squeezing her milk out, and another woman going, "Ugh."
I dislike that girl more than I dislike Hudson. We find out that Sasha and Brad are friends with benefits. And even though snaky on Sasha's part, Sasha does apologise to Billy, but then continues to sleep with him. Yeah. So I guess...
She's like, whoops.
She's like, oh. Like, she's like... So this episode is a lot of sort of setting the foundation of why Billy and Cooper are together in the first place, because from the first episode you're sort of like, how have these two ended up together? And it explains something about Cooper's boring job, literally the most boring segment ever about like investing or something. You're like, oh, like so boring.
And then so
So I invest in hydro. Like, it's so boring.
Oh my god, my sorry, I can't say that.
And what we find out is that Cooper and Billy met fresh off Billy's breakup with Brad. So she was looking for someone to settle down with, and Cooper was actually wanted like a bit of direction in his life. He felt a little bit directionless. He even said that he had this massive house in Connecticut that he'd bought. Hello, rich! But he didn't have like a wife or like a family to fill it with, and that was very appealing to her. One thing I will say is that this show is literally written like fan fiction. I cannot believe that there is not some crazy story about how Snack/Life on Netflix was originally like Hunger Games BDSM
girls.
fan fiction. Like, I can't believe that this is just like was created on its own. Like, it's literally like After, but After is so much worse.
I think the only difference between this show and After is that the acting is actually quite good.
The acting is good and the chemistry is really good.
Yeah, exactly. Which really just saves it, because in terms of like the actual dialogue and the ridiculous plot, like, it is on the same level.
So, as we all know, Cooper has been reading Billy's diary, which I'm sure is up for debate how wrong that is. Because, like, on one hand, yeah, sure, it's bad that Billy is fantasizing over her ex, but on the other hand, her diary is her safe space. You can't be reading your partner's diary. Yeah. I think that's really out of order.
I wouldn't want to read your diary. Especially if you're writing stuff about me.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to read your diary.
Yeah. He's Joe Goldberg.
He is Joe Goldberg. So Billy gets back from the big city and Cooper surprises her with like a brand new dress and says that he wants to take her out on a date. And it is concerning how well Cooper is taking this.
Yeah.
Cue another flashback. Because Billy is on a date with her husband and still can't stop thinking about Brad. Guys, this flashback is ridiculous. It's preposterous. So it's the one where they walk on the subway.
Oh my god!
It wasn't even like sexy or enjoyable. It was just stressful.
Like, this is the stupidest thing I've ever seen anyone do. This is like, how they try and paint him as a bad boy. He's like, do you want to walk on the subway train tracks with me?
It's like 9 minutes until the next train. Let's do it. And she's just like, okay.
She's just leading her into the tunnel. She's like, what's going on? Then she hears the train coming. He's like, oh, you better come over here. And he's like, what's going on? He's like, oh, quick. The train's about to come. Then he pulls her into like this little
like nook.
And he's like, oh, I used to do this all the time when I was younger. Like
what? And then guess what happens after the train nearly kills them both? They have
snacks with each other.
I
They
can't
have snacks with each
imagine
other.
anything less horny than nearly getting hit by a subway train. Like, oh
I'd be
my god.
sobbing and crying.
Literally, I'd be traumatized, if not electrocuted. So Cooper decides to take Billy to one of his clients' mansions, and they get naked, they skinny dip, and then they start making out and getting frisky in the pool. And guess what? The client is actually in the mansion.
But then it's important to note that Cooper had just been reading about when Billy and Brad had in his
Yes. So he's trying to recreate the diary, which I don't know whether I respect or whether I'm absolutely terrified about.
That's what I'm saying. Like, he seems like a perfectly ordinary guy, but his reaction to certain stimuli is just like, you're an insane person.
It's bubbling under the surface, but it's like one little scratch and it's exposed.
Your reaction is, I'll just become this man.
Cooper had the most BDE in this episode. The person who owns the mansion calls the cops, and they end up in a car chase with a police officer.
And he goes absolutely Jason Bourne.
He goes pure foot in acca.
He like swerves around the corner, sees a like big van coming, drives really fast, U-turns, and then so he comes in behind the van and then drives past the police while he's covered by the van. And what, Billy's not turned on at all by this? All Brad did was walk on the train tracks.
But that's the problem. It's not about what Brad does. It's not about his actions. It's about who Brad is.
Yeah, exactly.
And Cooper isn't Brad, no matter how hard he tries.
Cooper's cool. He's actually so cool and insane. I don't know why she doesn't find him. She just doesn't know that he's insane.
And then they get home, and they're both like soaked from the swimming pool, and Cooper just goes upstairs and throws up in the toilet. I don't know whether it was because of the car chase, or it's because of the whole journal stuff, but this just isn't him.
Maybe too much alcohol.
No, I think it's got to do with the diary.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the episode, Brad phones Billy, but just like a phone conversation. Yeah. And I think she's just like, leave me alone, I'm happy, la la la. He's like,
are you really?
He's a jarring bloke. I really hope that he never watches this video. I doubt he will, but I'm so sorry for any of my Australian subscribers who are offended. We're on to episode 3. We have a flashback where Brad and Billy are like banging in a car, and I'm not gonna lie, it's super hot. I would be lying if I say it wasn't.
Steaming.
But we cut, and it's not a flashback, it's a journal entry. And it's not Billy writing it, it's Cooper reading it, and
he's greasing his pole.
But like, this was the moment where I was like, yeah, this guy's crazy.
He's absolutely lost it.
Billy tries to instigate a little bit of, you know, snacksy time with Cooper in the shower, but he turns it down. He's not feeling it. But you know what he does do instead? He goes to New York and decides to stalk Brad. Gets all the way to the gym. And then the gym's like, oh, you need a membership to get in. Yeah. So he pays for a gym membership.
That for me is when I was like, okay, this guy's insane. Signing up to the gym?
The part which really cracked me up was the fact that he didn't have workout clothes, so then he bought workout clothes from the gym. That's insane to me.
Dedicated.
I've never seen anyone wearing like
gym merch in the gym.
He wore the gym merch in the gym. Full gym merch, trainers, shorts, like, I'd be like, who is
an
this
industry
guy?
plant? What the fuck?
Yeah, he's a secret shopper. And then Cooper like follows him, watches him work out, and then is like working out at the same time.
Every time Brad changes location, Cooper goes, alright, fine, I'll follow.
And with the shower was the one where he was like, oh, fine. Like, my hands are tied, okay.
I've gone this far.
They're both naked because they're showering. And Cooper's just like, Brad has a
honker.
Huge.
He's got a silly sausage.
Yeah, it's crazy. I've never seen sadness like I saw in Cooper's face.
That's the best acting moment in the whole show is his face.
Run him his Emmy. So we have a flashback, and this is the first flashback which signifies that Brad is just like not unhinged, but just like a bit sociopathic and just it clearly isn't ready for a relationship. Basically, it's one of his many like ways that he's effed over Billy.
Yeah.
So basically, Brad introduces Billy to his family, and Brad's stepdad calls him a whore in front of Billy and like launches a glass at him or something like that. And then they go outside in the taxi and basically...
He's like, you think you're all that, but you're not that special. There's nothing special about you, Billy. And she's like, you don't mean that. He's like, I do. Fuck off.
Yeah, and then he calls Billy a bitch
Yeah.
and breaks up with her. Billy is like hiding out at Sasha's apartment afterwards, like she's so sad, and Brad shows up and apologizes.
Chucking rocks at the window.
Yeah, he's like, I'm sorry.
Billy's like, Sasha, look, he's not gonna go away until I just go down and tell him to like get out of here. Sasha's like, okay, fair enough. Like, Billy goes downstairs, talks to Brad for about 2 minutes, comes back upstairs with Brad. She's like, excuse me?
She's so meek as well. Like she tries to sneak this like 6'5" Australian stallion into the flat. So I would say that Brad is very hard and Scott coded.
Yeah.
Because we actually sort of get into the nitty gritty of like his trauma and why he is the way he is. Basically his dad left him.
Oh, like everyone else.
But basically Brad is like an absolute asshole.
And
treats everyone around him
this
and
one
the women
thing
around
that
him.
happened when he was 7 years old as the basis for treating everyone around him.
And you know what's weird is that treating women like this shit, even though the woman wasn't the one that
his mum stayed.
On him. It was the men in his life, yet he uses that as an excuse to treat women terribly.
His mum's lovely.
His mum's so nice. Men just get to use this one horrible thing that happened to them 20 years ago.
And just never fix their personality.
And just never fix their personality. So Billy decides to surprise Cooper by picking him up from the train station. And then they decide to get a little bit frisky in the car.
Oh yeah.
Right, another recreation from Billy's diary.
Yeah.
And it's just not going to plan. The baby seat's in the way.
It's like it's giving life.
It's giving life.
Every scene is either snacks or slash life. And that scene was definitely giving slash life.
It was giving slash life.
So at the beginning of every scene, you can kind of place bets whether was this going to be a snack scene or is this going to be a slash life.
Yeah, and she does squirt breast milk on him, and that's suddenly what takes him out of it.
Which I find unrealistic.
They do end up finishing the cast, but it's Cooper just like...
Just trying to get it over and done with.
Yeah, like
really.
trying to get it over and done with.
He's like it's the last email before he's got to leave the office.
Yeah.
Oh, come on.
So we got to bear in mind that Billy, she's very unsatisfied. Cooper's gone to bed. She's getting on the bottle because it's like upsetting her so much.
And not the baby bottle.
Basically, during this time, Brad shows up to Sasha's apartment and Sasha's like, no, not interested, leave me alone, we're done, like, I'm snaked Billy out, la la la. And Brad calls Billy on Sasha's phone, so Billy picks up, and Brad's like, watch this. And so he props the camera up and him and Sasha start doing the deed. Yeah. So bear in mind, it's all filmed without Sasha's consent, nor knowledge. She starts making herself happy, if you know what I mean. You cannot look your friend in the eye after that.
Yeah.
It's awful. It's actually really bad.
It's so terrible.
We need to start speed running through some because we have been recording for like 40 minutes. But basically, and we're only on episode 4 of season 1, Billy is writing in her journal again and Cooper comes downstairs and she immediately slams her laptop shut. Hey! And Cooper, he's getting really sick and tired of this, so he decides to go to Brad's work, and Brad goes, nice to see you with some clothes on. He knew.
He was being watched and followed the whole time.
And Brad was like, basically egging him on, being like, I wonder when you was going to talk to me. I've actually been texting Billy, and Cooper is pissed.
Livid.
And he says, stay the fuck away from my wife. It was hot.
Yeah.
It was hot.
I think Cooper's hot. He's kind of a bad boy in his own right.
So Billy decides to go to New York with all of her like mum friends. She keeps getting flashbacks because she's walking past all these places, and she gets this flashback to when Brad got like a tattoo for Billy.
The 2 B's.
The 2 B's.
Because we're B&B. Tattoo artist's like, alright, you have a look at that. I'm just going to go into the back for a second. They just start on the chair.
So unhygienic. Enjoy your infection. And then Billy just starts crying to the girls about how much her life has changed. She then admits that
it's because the tattoo shop has changed into a bakery.
Yeah, into a bakery, which, to be fair, real.
Yum.
Like, is Billy just horny or is she just really passionate about gentrification? Like...
Oh my god, this place has changed so much since I married my rich husband and moved to my $5 million house.
So Billy spills all to the mum friends, which I feel like huge mistake.
Error. Fatal
One
error.
thing about suburban mums, they're gonna run their mouth.
They're gonna gossip.
I survived suburban mums.
Yeah.
So Cooper then spills all to work bestie Newcastle Geordie Devon.
The most inappropriate man in the world.
And Cooper seems to have a bit of an inkling of like Madonna whore complex, because he's like, Billy's my wife. I don't want to do all these.
See her in that way.
I don't want to do all these things with her. And Devon's like, are you insane?
But he says it in a way, he's like, your wife's sexy. I'd love it if your wife wanted to do all that on me.
And then Cooper's like, that's disgusting. All right, let's go grab lunch. Cooper tells Devon that he's like just not into it as much as he used to be. It takes a while to get the equipment working because he's a little bit older. And Devon's just like, you gotta get that BDE, man. And Cooper's like, what's BDE?
Aww.
Then we flash to Billy going to see Sasha, and she confesses that she watched Sasha sleeping with Brad without her consent. And you know what Sasha's reaction was? Did my ass look good? Like, you're lucky that Sasha's so chilled out. That's a criminal offence. So Devon, being just the worst person to exist ever, decides to set Cooper up on a date with his ex-girlfriend Emily.
Oh yeah.
And Emily's like super hyped about this. And Cooper's like, oh, I'm actually still married.
Happily in love.
Yeah, and she's just like, oh. Basically, the whole purpose of this was Devon said that you should get yourself all hot and horny and then go back to your wife. Is that like a common thing that men do?
I don't think that any sane people do that.
So Emily leaves the bar now that she realises that Cooper is still married. But guess who shows up at the bar? Sexy boss Francesca. I like Francesca.
Woo! What?
Why are you cheering?
We love Francesca.
What, do you fancy her?
No, just like platonically.
Francesca, his boss, I'm not sure whether I introduced
Francesca, his hot boss.
His hot, alright. Francesca, his hot boss, shows up, and I really like Francesca. She's a really likeable character. Yeah. And they're doing shots together. It's getting like slightly, a little bit tense. Yeah. It's like...
And you're like, is this going to be snacks or is it going to be / life?
Yeah, it keeps you guessing. Yeah. Basically, during all this, Billy's at home and she's talking to Trina, and Trina's like, if you want to spice up your snacks, you should come to this party with me and Devon. Party? To end the episode off, Brad FaceTimes Billy and just shows her his wand. And Billy's reaction, guys, I'm not even being dramatic when I say this, it's...
It's quite interesting, the shift between the early episodes, Brad just being like this crazed, demented, manipulative maniac, and then suddenly they try and shoehorn in that he's actually really like emotionally hurt and like he really cares about her, when in the first few episodes he's just showing her his and having sex with her friend in front of her.
Yeah!
And then he's like, I actually want to propose.
So we've got another flashback to all the amazing snacks that Billy and Brad had, and then a flash forward to the awkward that Cooper and Billy are having. Been there, done that. It was the coital technique.
Yeah, he tries to do it like he read it in the book.
And it's just flop. Cooper does actually clear up that he doesn't have a problem with like Billy's past. I think Billy has it in her head that Cooper has a problem with the fact that she used to sleep around. What he has a problem with is the fact that in this diary, she's not fantasizing or writing about anyone else she slept with, just her ex-boyfriend, and that's what he has a problem with, which I feel like is very fair enough. But then Billy decides to think of genuinely the craziest thing ever, which she goes, oh my god, Cooper, I don't care about him because he's dating Sasha, and I can prove it to you because we should go on a double date with them.
And then you'll see. What? Brad's not gonna go along with this. He's actively trying to break up your marriage.
He's a menace.
Why would you invite this in? Why would you do this?
So she decides to set up this double date to prove that she isn't cheating on Cooper with Brad. And somehow, after, to be fair, Sasha very reluctantly agrees. And obviously Brad agrees because he can see it as another way of him meddling in their marriage. And then Cooper's working, him and Francesca are flirting at work a lot. I'm actually really rooting for Cooper and Francesca. I really like them together. We've got another flashback where Billy thinks that she might be pregnant
Prego,
with
preggers.
Brad's baby, and Brad is just like, get an abortion.
Yeah, he's like that woman in the bathroom who saw her.
Yeah. Basically, he's like, no,
He's like,
you
what are you
need to
gonna do
finish your
about it?
PhD. What are you gonna do about it? Billy tells Cooper that she got a ride home on Brad's motorcycle, and Cooper's just like,
Ugh.
but then Cooper's like, Brad clearly makes you feel a way that I can't make you feel, but he probably makes you feel the same way that Francesca makes me feel.
Oh.
Then there's another flashback to Billy getting published in like a psychology magazine. What a shock, the article was about Brad is like super late to the dinner, and she just thinks that she's left
He's
him.
like run off
And he
there.
finally gets in, and she's like, are you done? Like, are you leaving me?
Where have you
Da-da-da.
been?
And he'd been buying all of the psychology magazines in like
all of the copies.
yeah, all of the copies within like a vicinity of Manhattan or whatever.
Yeah.
And then she's like, oh, but I just think if your boyfriend is like the father of your child is 2 hours late to a dinner and your immediate thought is, oh, he's left me, I don't think you should be with someone like that. Billy then decides to go to like, I'm assuming it's her old work, or it's like basically like a university, and starts confiding in, I thought this was her therapist. I think it's just like a random man,
Just
or like
some guy that she's mates with who's like really the wrong person to ask for advice.
Yeah.
He seems highly inappropriate and like he just likes mess and scandal.
yeah.
Please cheat, that would be so funny.
And then he's like, but what if Brad could give you it all?
Yeah.
Which I just think is the worst advice
Like,
to tell her to go
after
back to
hearing all
Brad.
of this, is that what you think? Is that what you think Brad is the one who's gonna give it all of it? Just teach Cooper is much easier than teaching Brad how to be a good person.
So Cooper gets home from work, and Billy isn't home, just Olga, the babysitter, fan favorite Olga. Love you. And basically he's just like, what's going on? Billy is gallivanting in New York City with Brad. So Brad takes Billy on a date to one of their like old date spots, this restaurant. This guy's like, the usual spot, and he's like, yeah. And it's like a sofa, like you can't eat dinner there.
Armchair facing a fireplace.
Yeah. So there's a flashback to them getting frisky in the same spot. Back to the present day, they're not getting frisky. Brad tells Billy that he feels ready to be with her because he finally met his dad, and his dad actually passed away. And he was with his dad during his final moments. And it basically sort of made him realise what he actually wants from life, and he actually wants Billy. And I just think 15 years too fucking late, mate.
Like, how that's what it took. You have to watch your own father die to realise that you don't have to treat your girlfriend like a piece of crap.
Yeah. So Billy and Brad get to the outside the restaurant. They nearly
Then
kiss.
they kiss.
No,
No,
they do it, and then Billy's phone starts blowing up because she didn't have any service in the restaurant.
Oh yeah,
and
in that
Cooper
weird
sent
spot by
her-
the fireplace.
Yeah,
There was no
service. Cooper sends her like a million messages like, where are you? La 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 la. And she's like, I have to go. Brad asks Billy like, maybe you got married to the wrong guy. And then there's actually like this really sad flashback where Billy miscarries her and Brad's baby. We're back to present day. Cooper ends up leaving the house with Hudson and Ellery. Billy gets home, kids aren't there, Cooper's not there, so she immediately thinks that he's left her with the kids, but he actually ends up pulling up and said that the kids just wanted to go for a drive to get them to sleep. It sort of sets it into perspective a little bit, like she did nearly lose it all and it was like a horrible experience.
Like, is it worth it?
Like, is it worth it? So we're on to episode 7. Cooper, he's sleeping on the couch, okay? Because he's like, I don't want to pretend to be a happy family anymore. Like, I am done. I am over this. And to be fair, you can't say that guy didn't try.
Exactly.
Yeah. Brad shows up to Sasha's apartment and is like, you've got to help me get Billy back. And Sasha's like, you, no. And Sasha is being real because what she said is she goes, you want to get Billy back after what you did after her miscarriage? And everyone's like, what did he do after the miscarriage? And Sasha like wholeheartedly believes that Billy hasn't changed. And then there's another flashback where Billy's coming back from the hospital after having a miscarriage. She is going to a family wedding on the weekend with Brad, and she's like, oh no, like I actually want to go, I just want to keep myself distracted. And Brad starts getting real shifty about it,
he's like,
and weird. And he's like,
so I gotta go to the studio, mate.
Yeah, he's like, I have to go to the studio.
They've just come back from the hospital.
Yeah, and Billy's like, I just had a miscarriage. Like, why are you going to work? And he's like, for fuck's sake, Billy, I need some space. I hate him. Like, I forgot how much I hated him when I watched the second season.
Yeah, he does not behave like a human being.
He's literally... This was a Brad flashback.
Whoa.
Brad was having a flashback and nearly got hit by a taxi mid-flashback.
Yes, he's almost getting hit by a car during one of these intense flashbacks.
So, now it's like the present. And Billy makes Cooper like a congratulations cake because he had some boring investors meeting and apparently went really well. And Billy promises Cooper that nothing happened between her and Brad and that she really, really wants to fix things. And she seems pretty determined. But luckily their DMC got disturbed by Trina and Devon and their kids coming around for a barbecue. And whilst they're barbecuing, Trina's like, hey, you want to come to a party? Basically, there's another flashback scene. Basically, it's about this family wedding that Billy went to post miscarriage, and Billy's mum acting incredibly inappropriately. Then she goes, when are you gonna try for another baby again? And I'm like, calm down, lady. And then she's like, maybe you two should get married. And Brad's just like, And to cut a very long story short, Brad cheats on Billy at the family wedding.
Bartender.
Yeah, like how insane. And we're meant to be rooting for this guy?
Yeah,
And then Billy catches them and she's like, you know what, you're self-sabotaging again. You wanted me to catch you, didn't you? And Brad basically thinks that Billy had a miscarriage because he's not worthy of being a dad.
Like it was the universe trying to say
that. Which I feel like is a really messed up thing to say to your girlfriend who just had a miscarriage. Even
making it about him.
Yeah, just making it about yourself. Billy tells Brad that he needs to see his dad and just sort himself out, which I just feel like you're taking him back again.
Yeah.
Like, again, you're just giving him so many chances to fix himself. You're literally guiding him through. Basically, you're giving him therapy.
Yeah.
And I just feel like he's not worth it. Like, he's the worst.
He's not done anything to show, apart from having a really big schlong.
Billy and Cooper go to the swinging party.
Yeah.
And it's actually really funny because they're just walking around and everyone's like, do you want to join in? Do you want to join in?
No,
and Cooper's like, no, we're just doing a lap.
No,
We're just doing a lap. Cooper is like kind of feeling this party.
Yeah, he likes it.
And him and Billy start getting a little bit frisky. But the thing is, everyone at this party, I don't think this is how a swinging party actually is. Like, they literally just act like bugs.
Like
or
NPCs in a game. Just...
Yeah. Like, as soon as something happens, they just turn and start staring. And this starts freaking Billy out a little bit. And Cooper's like, come on, like, you want to get frisky, let's get frisky. And Billy's just like, no, this is weird. And then they end up getting into a bit of a bicker. The crowd of weird people surrounding them disperses. And then Trina's like, Billy, let me handle this. And gives Cooper a BJ in front of Billy. Billy starts crying.
Before she does it, she has to do it, and then Cooper looks Billy in the eye and goes, do it.
And then Billy's like, yeah, I'm leaving. Leave. Devon's like, no, Billy, like, let's get it on. And Cooper's like, excuse me.
That's my wife, mate.
That's my wife. And basically, Cooper punches Devon in the face and they just ruin the fun vibe of the swinging party. Yeah. They get into a massive fist fight. Devon actually breaks Cooper's arm. And then
wrist.
Alright, wrist, arm, it's not the same thing. So they get back from the hospital. Cooper has a broken wrist because of his fight with Devon. Yeah. And who's going and watching their driveway? Brad. Brad rings Billy and is like, come out here. And then he proposes to her, but she turns him down. Right, we're finally on the last episode of season 1. I literally never want to talk about this show. I cannot believe we were going to do both seasons. That's
once.
Crazy. Yeah. It's going to have to be a two-parter, by the way. Cooper is actually watching Brad propose to her from the bedroom.
Yeah, he sees it all.
He can see it all. And Billy sort of imagines what married life would be like, but she still turns down Brad.
So she's like, I got my kids, I like my life.
Cooper is like upset about this whole thing. Billy's like, I want to work out the marriage. Cooper's like, we're too far gone now. There's a stain that you cannot get off. And Billy smashes up her MacBook, buys a new MacBook that doesn't transfer her journal over.
Yeah.
So that's how you know she means it. And then she takes Hudson to school, and one of the mums, Caroline, is being really rude to Hudson. It's like, so weird.
Like telling her daughter, don't play with this weird kid.
Don't play with Hudson. Basically, Trina told Caroline that Billy actually brought them to a sex party. Billy has sort of been excommunicated from the suburban mums, which I can't even say sounds that bad, because being friends with suburban mums sounds like hell. And then Devon low-key blackmails Cooper.
High-key
blackmails Cooper, being like, you need to agree with my investment, otherwise I'm going to tell HR that you beat me up. And then he agrees with the investment in the meeting, but then he goes to Francesca privately and he's like, don't invest in this. I actually beat him up, so I'm actually being blackmailed right now. Francesca also gives Cooper a set of keys to her apartment.
That is insane.
That is really insane.
To give some insane married guy from work keys to your house because you had drinks a couple times. Very crazy.
And Hudson's also beginning to clock onto all this because he's like, Mommy, what's a divorce? He's like, my friend says that you and Daddy are getting a divorce. So Hudson has this international affair and none of the other kids want his brie bread because all their parents are like, Hudson's mum's a slut. You can't get the brie.
You can't have
bread.
any of his brie. We don't have any of his slutty brie.
Yeah. Billy starts scrapping the other mums.
Yeah, they all
being
just
rude
have
to
it out
Hudson.
there in the middle of the international.
Have it out in front of the international fair in front of all of these kids. It's actually really embarrassing.
And we were saying, we were just imagining the teachers being like,
Cooper shows up and is like, leave my wife alone. La 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 la.
Yeah, she's a good mother.
Yeah, she's a good mother.
She's a good wife.
Yeah, and then they go for ice cream and it seems like things can be worked on, and they are worked on. There's this big montage of them like getting on really well, them fixing their marriage.
Devon and Cooper are just friends again by 2 weeks later.
Yeah, actually, they're like totally cool with each other,
fine.
even though they broke each other's bones.
Yeah.
So Billy goes back to work and she's getting her mojo back.
Yeah.
As in, she just wears her metallic pink jacket.
That's when you know she's back to being old Billy, when she's wearing her jacket.
Billy, Cooper, and the kids go to Sasha's book event, and Sasha starts talking about code switching. And she's like, you know, black people code switch a lot. And
so do women when we're horny.
Yeah, she's literally like, but you know who does that too? Women. And I'm like, I am not against, you know, different social justice movements finding common ground with one another, but I feel like comparing code switching to
being horny
isn't quite, like, it's not quite, and it's so funny because you think that Cooper and Billy are going to stay together, but this talk from Sasha throws Billy completely off. She's having flashbacks about Brad and she's like, I'm gonna divorce.
Horny.
And Brad is at the book event and she sees him at the book event and she's like, oh my god. Basically, Billy gets home and then she leaves and then she runs to Brad's apartment with that, what's that song that they played that I really liked? When it does music, I'll never let you go. That's a good song. Cooper is tracking Billy's phone, but Cooper also rings Francesca. Billy then gets to Brad's apartment and says, I'm not leaving my husband, this changes nothing, now fuck me. So she's gonna try and have it all, which basically means cheating on her husband.
Whoa.
Crazy. So that was the Snack/Life Part 1 Season 1 video. We were going to do both seasons in this video, but it's nearly 9 p.m. We've been filming since 7.
Tired.
I'm tired. I want to go to bed. The next season of this will literally be up in a week because we'll just film it in a few days because the script's all done. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video.
Thank you.
A little bit different. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, comment, follow my socials, all that good stuff. And I'll see you literally next week for the next part of this video. Bye.